Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Archon. I'm going to be going over my Week 1 World Cup game against xMikasaAckerman. Um, First of all, this footage is courtesy of Les in game or Bellez. I'll link his channel in the description. He's been recording World Cup matches and posting them on the forums, so thanks to him. This is a team that I made a week prior to this game. I'm actually quite proud of this team. I actually went undefeated with it until Wobbuffet got banned. And I really wanted to use this in week 1 since Wobbuffet was still legal then. I'll link the Poke Paste for it down in the description. Just a quick run through. This is Bold Rotom with an Eye Pop Berry, Sub Gengar, Bulk Up Conk, Wobbuffet Standard. This is a Scarf Mine Shell. A lot of people didn't know this was scarfed until later in the game, or even until the end of the game. And then a Sassy T-Tar that sets up rocks and has Fire Blast, Ice Beam, and Crunch. No pursuit on that. So let's get right into this match here. Looking at his team, I can see that my Rotom Wash lead will be pretty much free. You know, if he leads Mandy, I get a Volt Switch. Garchomp, I would probably Will-O-Wisp or Hydro Pump. Hippowdon, I can Hydro Pump and Will-O-Wisp. Conk I can take a hit from because I'm bold. Starmie I can take a hit from. Volt Switch. So I decide to lead Rotom Wash. Let's just skip ahead here. Now this team is great because Wobbuffet sort of opens the door for some of these sweepers and pivots. For example, Conk. Conk messes up his team once a couple of his threats are gone, like Mandibuzz. I mean, Wobbuffet doesn't take Mandibuzz itself, but Conk, once his other Conk his Conk is gone, so he decides to lead Mandibuzz. This means this is pretty much a free Volt Switch for me. If he switches into Hippo or Garchomp, that's fine, because I have answers for that. Since Rotom has Levitate and I can take a Dragon Claw from a Garchomp. Decides to go into his Hippowdon, which will block my Volt Switch. Oops. Now here I can just tell he's going to set up rocks. So I decide to go for the Will-O-Wisp just to sort of cripple this thing so Earthquake doesn't do damage to maybe if my Conkeldurr comes in, or if my T-Tar comes in, maybe I can live EQ. So I go for the Will-O-Wisp. Thankfully I hit. He uses Stealth Rock, of course. I'm predicting a switch here, so I just go for the Defog since this thing can't really touch me. This Hippowdon kind of walls my team, so I'm looking to get rid of this thing as soon as possible. And thankfully, he just kind of gives it to me. Probably a little bit of a misplay on his part, but... So here I use Defog. And we're in the same situation as turn 1, except now his Hippowdon is burnt and I'm not really scared of it. So I'm just going to go for the Volt Switch again. And I think he just doubles right back into Hippo. I'm not really sure what this Mandibuzz switch in was. Maybe he thought I would switch out or something. Didn't really counter anything. I would switch into Hippo though. So I go for the Volt Switch. I'm seeing he's being a little bit haphazard with his Hippowdon here, which of course, like I said, can wall my team pretty well. So I think I just go for the Hydro Pump here. And looking at his team, Hydro Pump does damage to pretty much everything except Blissey. So getting a good Hydro Pump off would be good. And if he does switch into Blissey, I can just Volt Switch right out into Conquer Mine Shao or something. So I go for the Hydro Pump rather, and I miss, which is quite unfortunate. Doesn't end up really mattering though. He Worlds wins me into my Conkeldurr. Now here I'm thinking, alright, he's probably switching into Mandy again. I'm just going to go right back into Rotom because this thing can't touch me with Rotom. and I'll be able to get off another Volt Switch and a possible Hydro Pump. Oh, actually I go into Gengar. Probably a little bit of a misplay, I guess. Maybe I thought he would switch out, scared of an Ice Punch or Bulk Up or something, into Starmie. Suppose that's kind of a 50-50. If I were to play that turn again, I'd probably switch into Rotom. Now here I get a free Focus Blast, it looks like. Maybe expecting a Blissey switch in. He switches into Mandibuzz, I think. It's a little bit of a confusing play. Probably another misplay on his part. This does like 40%, I think. Now I carry Thunderbolt on this Gengar to kill Togekisses and Gyarados and whatnot. So I'm just gonna click Thunderbolt and get a lot of damage off. Not really worried about a foul play because I know I'll live. And this thing, I'd rather have chip damage on this thing than have my Gengar be low. And I know I live. Rock's coming in now. Thanks to Black Sludge. So that's a fine trade with me. Here I think I just go for the Thunderbolt again. Seems like the safe play. Not really too worried if he switches in Hippo, because it's burnt and it can't touch me with Levitate. So he eats that Thunderbolt. Now this is scary because Sandstorm kind of puts me right in the range to die to rocks, but it doesn't end up mattering since I have Black Sludge. Now I know how hell-bent he is on getting rid of this thing, so I just go right into Rotom here, which is the safest play since none of his mons can really do anything to it. When building teams, it's important to be careful of Rotom Wash, since it's probably... Oh, I just go for the Shadow Ball, I guess, hoping for a Spadef drop, maybe. Goes for the Slack Off. I think in the future I would just switch back into Rotom Wash there. But like I was saying, Rotom Wash is like on 75% of teams nowadays, I would say. Maybe a little less. It's always important to know how to counter that since it's such a powerful mon with its ability to Volt Switch and Burn and Defog and Pain Split. So there I go for a Shadow Ball again, hoping to get Special Defense drop. I don't really like that play. I think going into Rotom a couple turns ago would have been better. Now I believe I switch out. I don't want to lose this thing to like a flamethrower or something. But he predicts the switch and goes right into Mandibuzz. Let's think about that. So maybe he thought I was going into Conkeldurr, since that seems like the obvious switch in to Blissey. So he goes into his Mandibuzz, which is a Conk counter, so that maybe he can roost there. So thinking one step ahead of your opponent's switches, especially when they have a low Mandibuzz like this, is always important so that they can't roost back up. Otherwise, that Gengar switch or that Gengar tanking the foul play would have been for nothing. So I go into my own T-Tar. Obviously, he's gonna switch out, so I just set up rocks here so that Mandibuzz has an even harder time coming into things. I know now though, Mandibuzz doesn't die to stones, or rocks, so I do have to be careful of that. I switch out here. I don't want to get EQ'd, even if it is burnt. I don't want damage on T-Tar. Since it is sassy, it does tank a couple Surfs from Starmie, as long as it's not Specs, but it is Specs in this case. And I kill with Crunch. So I was expecting an EQ there, so I go into Rotom, but it doesn't really matter since he slacks off. And of course, I know in this situation what he likes to do. He likes to get rid of his hippo as soon as possible. So I, so I click Hydro Pump, and it'll die to burn. He whirlwinds me out. Here I would have liked to maybe see like a Mind Shao. I mean, it's obviously random, but Conk isn't the worst mon to go in. Since his Mana Buzz is low, I can Mach Punch. I can tank an EQ or Dragon Claw and Ice Punch. Starmie would kind of suck, but we'll see what he goes into. I can always sack Gengar if he decides to go Starmie. Decides to go into his own Conkeldurr. Kind of an interesting play. I don't know if I'd make that play myself. Maybe he thinks he can win the 1v1. Maybe he would if he was Flame Orb, but it doesn't even matter since I'm going right back into Wabu, which counters Conkeldurr. And before we see what happens here, once I get rid of this Conkeldurr with Wobbuffet, it kind of opens up my own Conk to win the game, since like we established before, Mandy dies to Rocks and a Mach Punch, Garchomp will die to an Ice Punch, and Conk will tank. Blissey obviously gets blown up. Starmie would be the only problem, but in that case I still have my T-Tar, which can crunch Oko and live a serve, and I have Mind Shao, which is scarfed with U-turn. So if this didn't happen, I probably would have had a clean 5-0, since Conk would have taken out these 3 Mons, and then maybe Starmie would have gotten a revenge kill, but then I would have just revenge killed that. So this is quite unfortunate that I get frozen here, but I mean, if I take out this Conk anyways, then it doesn't really matter. So I stay in. Now I know this is probably bulk up since he doesn't have Flame Orb, so this first turn, I decide to Encore. Let's skip ahead. I think a little bit. So yeah, I'm thinking as long as I get thawed out in the next couple turns, then this thing will die, and then it'll open up the wind sweep. But of course I get frozen once. Goes for the Ice Punch, so I see he's not going to bulk up. So for the next couple turns I just click counter, since that's what I'm looking for, is an Ice Punch to counter. Ice Punches, frozen a second turn, and we'll skip ahead. Third turn, Ice Punches, frozen a third turn, and then one more chance. Ice Punches, and frozen a fourth turn. So that's really, really unfortunate. Like I said, if this Wabu would have been able to take down the Conk, that would have been a clean 5-0. But I guess that's just the way of Pokemon. Pokemon's really about minimizing your dependence on RPG, RNG, via team building and predicting and calculating. So I lose Wabu there. So this becomes immediately a much closer game. Now I don't know why particularly this was the right play. Maybe going into my own Conk would have been better here and trying to 1v1. Maybe trying to go into Gengar and get some chip damage before it ultimately dies. But I decided to go into a Rotom Wash here and Hydro Pump. Thankfully I hit this. That would have been trouble if I didn't. I know I can live a Drain Punch with Iapapa and I'll get all that HP right back. Little side note, Iapapa Berry on Rotom, Bold specifically, is so much better than lefties. You can see here I just took a Drain Punch from a Conk and got all that health right back. It just increases the longevity of Rotom Wash a lot more than Lefties ever does, especially if you're bulky. Anyways, a Hydro Pump. He gets a little HP back, but it's all good. Got some nice chip on it that'll make the 1v1 with Conk or Gengar a lot easier. Now here a lot of people were kind of curious as to why I didn't Volt Switch here, since it would have been free damage. I knew he wasn't going to stay in, since I could just come in and revenge kill with Gengar or Mineshaw, or maybe not Mineshaw, with Gengar, after he kills my Rotom Wash. So I knew he was going to switch out here, and I didn't want him to switch into Garchomp, since I didn't necessarily want to tank a Dragon Claw from him, because that's probably what it would have come down to. If I stayed in and Volt Switch, he would have blocked the switch and then Dragon Clawed something. I didn't want to risk that, so I just hard switch into Gengar. But he doesn't opt to go into Garchomp. He goes into his Blissey. Would I make that play again? Maybe. Depends on how risky I was feeling. So I just wanted to clarify that. I didn't want to risk the Garchomp switching. So of course, he switches into Blissey, which is not a good opponent for my Gengar. So I go into Mineshaw. It would have been nice to maybe catch that Toxic with the Conkeldurr since Guts boost, but I think this is fine since Mineshaw has Regenerator ability, which gains at HP every time it switches out. And I also see that if I just click High Jump Kick, like probably something dies in the next turn or two. So I click High Jump Kick, kill Mandibuzz once and for all. So that was a huge threat against my Conkeldurr. And it's now gone, thanks to the chip damage that I put in with Gengar, and thanks to the rocks. So now, here he knows that I'm Choice Scarf, so he comes in with Starmie, knowing that he's either faster or he's just going to tank a High Jump Kick. So this was a good play by him, good foresight. Or maybe not foresight's the best word, but good critical thinking skills. So I'm thinking, alright, either I sack Gengar and then bring in T-Tar, or just go straight T-Tar if I think he's going to Psyshock. But looking at my team, really a Choice Spec Surf kind of messes it up a little bit. So I thought he would Surf here, obviously, since it hits my entire team super hard. So I end up going into Gengar to catch the Surf. I didn't think he would Psyshock since, like, why would I stay in with this? And I have T-Tar in the back. So Psyshock doesn't seem like the obvious play, or Psychic for that matter. So I'm thinking here. Let's see. Oh, I guess I go into Rotom here. I don't sack Gengar just yet. So I thought he was going to Surf there, so I went into Rotom to take the not very effective damage. But he ends up going for Psyshock, which is surprising since T-Tar would have been, would have probably done a lot of damage to his team there if he was locked into Psyshock. But he clicks Psyshock and I lose Rotom Wash. I'm not too upset about that since looking at his team now, it doesn't really do much. I don't have HPIs for Garchomp, Blissey walls it. I'm slower than Starmie. Conk just can Mach Punch or Drain Punch it to death. So it sucks that I lost it, but not too upset about it. Now I go into T-Tar here. At this point I don't think I had the wherewithal to know that he was Specs. So it was kind of obvious that he was going to switch out looking back on it now. And I don't have Pursuit on this T-Tar since I know it's a trade-off, really. I know I can Oko Starmies with Crunch and live a Surf, but if they think they can, or if they know they can, or they don't Oko with Surf, then they're just going to switch out, and then I would rather have Pursuit there. So he knows that he can't kill, so he switches out. Pursuit would have been nice there, though, in that situation where he knew that he wouldn't kill. So I crunch the Blissey. Now I switch right into Conkeldurr since it messes his team up. He goes for the soft boiled. I was half expecting a poison or a toxic there, but decides to soft boiled. Now here, looking at his team, I get a free Drain Punch. Starmie is quite frail, so like chip damage would be great. He goes into his own Conk. Drain Punch puts it in Mach Punch range. So that's Conk pretty much out of the way. So of course I Mach Punch, get rid of Conkeldurr. Now really my only, I don't think crit mattered there. My only worry now is Garchomp. Once I can get that out of the way, Mineshaw wins. T-Tar can win against Starmie. So this is where I'm glad I had my Gengar to sack, since obviously I don't want to stay in on this. So I just want to scout what move he uses that he'll be locked into. And this time he decides to Surf. So I know he's locked into Surf, so I go right into Mineshaw to get the free U-turn. Of course now he knows that I'm Choice Scarf, so he's not going to stay in. At this point, I know I've pretty much got the game won, since I can U-turn into Conkeldurr, Ice Punch if he decides to stay in, and then that's pretty much game from there. I can sack T-Tar, go into Mineshaw, but that's given that he stays in. But either way, even if he switched into Starmie or Blissey, Starmie would probably be low enough to, or I don't know what percent Starmie's at right now. I'm just hoping he stays in so I can Ice Punch, and he does. So I eat that up. Does 0. Blow away his whole career. And that's pretty much game. I got it 1 now. He goes into Starmie, obviously. I sack T-Tar. I knew this was a crit right when it killed. It doesn't matter in the sense that he would have just clicked Surf again and then killed me, but it does matter in the sense that like it would have been 1 more turn of Sandstorm, which would have been helpful for Chip with like Conkeldurr if it came down to that. So it is unfortunate that he crit me here, but it didn't cost me the game. So now I know I have the game 100% locked down, since I can U-turn for free here. Since I outspeed, it'll either kill this Starmie, or I can U-turn on the Blissey into Conkeldurr and then Drain Punch which will put Starmie in killing range. So he decides to go into Blissey. I U-turn into Conk. And then obviously I'll Drain Punch. He decides to let Blissey die, I believe. Now here, even if he did go into Starmie, I knew I would kill with a combination of Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Rocks, and Sandstorm. I knew for a fact that would kill, so even if he did switch into Starmie, it would have been fine. But he decides to Toxic. I'm not really sure why he would do that, since he probably won't be able to stall himself enough turns to Toxic stall me out anyways, and now I just have Guts boost. I don't think it would have mattered if he didn't Guts boost me, but I think for sure it was a misplay either way. But anyways, now I can get a Guts boosted Mach Punch on this Starmie. He kills me with Psyshock. And I know U-turn obviously kills. Now a lot of people were like, oh man, Mikasa's got the game won, since they didn't figure out that I had Scarf on this thing. But of course, I did have Scarf on this thing, and that'll be the game. So it was quite unfortunate that Wobbuffet got frozen 4 turns in a row. Would have been a lot cleaner and quicker game if that wasn't the case. But I still pull out the win. Thank you for watching. I'll put my PokePaste to this team in the description, as well as the link to the music that you're listening to now in the description. Comment if you wanted to see any more videos or have any ideas for teams, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.